The wind howled through the narrow streets. Every corner was painted with shadows. A thin fog clung to the ground, hiding broken cobblestones. Ragged figures shuffled silently along the alleys. Among them, Arman moved with careful steps. His stomach ached from hunger. His eyes burned with the weight of the day. He carried a small bag of meager belongings. The moon barely touched the rooftops. It was the night poverty came alive. Arman stopped near a flickering lantern. The light danced on cracked walls. He could hear whispers carried by the cold air. They sounded like promises and threats. A sudden clang made him jump. Metal struck metal. He could smell smoke and something rotten nearby. His heart thumped violently in his chest. Every shadow felt like it could reach for him. He turned a corner and froze. A figure stood in the darkness. It did not move. It watched. Fear crawled up his spine. Then the figure stepped forward. A light glinted in its hand. Arman could see it now clearly. It was a lantern too, but unlike any he had seen. The flame was blue, burning without smoke. The figure spoke. Its voice was calm but heavy with power. It told him to follow. Arman hesitated, but hunger and curiosity pushed him forward. They moved through streets he knew, yet they seemed unfamiliar. Walls appeared taller, shadows deeper. The air grew thicker, almost solid. Arman could taste it, metallic and cold. Suddenly, they reached a hidden square. It was empty, yet alive. Coins and scraps of food lay scattered, glinting under the lantern light. A fountain stood in the center, dry, cracked, yet glowing faintly. The figure raised its hand, and the coins began to rise. They hovered, spinning slowly, filling the square with light. Arman reached out, mesmerized. He grabbed a handful, and the cold metal burned warm in his palm. The air shifted. A wind like 1,000 voices roared. It swept the streets, lifting broken debris. And then silence. The figure smiled. It vanished. The coins fell at Arman's feet. He looked around. The square was empty, silent, calm. For the first time in his life, he felt a strange warmth. The hunger in his stomach faded. The ache in his bones softened. Even the fog seemed lighter. He gathered the coins, his hands trembling. Each step he took felt different. The streets were no longer hostile. Every shadow seemed to bow away. Arman realized that night was not ordinary. It was not only a night of fear. It was a night of reckoning. The night poverty had lost. The world felt different, yet he knew it was temporary. But for this moment, he had power. And the taste of victory. Arman clutched the coins tightly. Each one seemed heavier than it should be. He noticed a faint hum, like distant bells vibrating under the ground. It made his ears ache. The glow from the coins pulsed softly, as if alive. He looked around the empty square again. The alleys that had once been threatening now seemed silent and still. Even the fog had thinned, curling at the edges like a cautious animal. Arman's mind raced. Was this real, or a dream born from starvation and desperation? He heard movement behind him. A soft shuffling, careful, deliberate. He spun around. A child emerged from the shadows. Dirty, thin, and trembling. Her eyes were wide and hollow. She reached out a small hand. Arman knelt, holding the coins out. Her fingers brushed his. The touch was cold, but something passed between them. A spark. The hum grew louder, vibrating in the air around them. Then a voice, low and deep, seemed to come from the ground itself. Poverty fears courage. Hunger fears hope. Arman's skin crawled. He turned, searching for the source. No one was there. The coins shivered in his hands. He felt as if the square itself was alive, breathing, watching. The child tugged at him. She led him to a narrow alley. It opened into a courtyard, hidden behind collapsed buildings. Inside, dozens of people crouched, gaunt and trembling. They were dirty, ragged, hungry, fearful. But their eyes lit up when they saw him. Arman understood instantly. The coins were not merely money. They were a key, a tool of transformation. The hum grew deafening. The coins began to lift again, spinning faster, circling above the heads of the desperate crowd. The people froze, awe-struck, terrified. Then the coins began to rain down gently. Each person caught them, eyes wide with disbelief. Food appeared with the coins. Loaves, fruits, vegetables, meats, even water. The air shifted, warm and fragrant. Hunger fled from their bodies like a dark shadow retreating. Armin's heart pounded in disbelief. He had never seen anything like this. The courtyard, once desolate, pulsed with life. Voices whispered, filled with hope and fear, but mostly wonder. A woman cried quietly, clutching a loaf of bread. A man laughed softly, tears streaking his dirt-stained face. Children ran, spinning, tasting fruit for the first time in months. Armin realized that the night was not ending poverty alone. It was awakening something in people. Strength, courage, hope. But then, a chill swept through the courtyard. The coins flickered. The hum turned into a growl, low and threatening. Shadows stretched along the walls. From the darkness, figures emerged. Tall, menacing, their faces hidden under hoods. They moved with purpose. Armin's chest tightened. The people around him froze. The hooded figures circled the courtyard. Their presence sucked the warmth from the air. One stepped forward. Its voice was hollow, like wind through a grave. Those who defy poverty must pay. Armin stood, holding the coins high. He felt their weight, their power, and their warning. The crowd gasped. The hooded figure advanced, and the coins shook violently in his hands. Then the blue flame from the first lantern appeared again, hovering in the air. The hooded figures recoiled. A blinding light filled the courtyard. Armin felt the warmth seep into his bones. The shadows screamed, twisted, and vanished into nothingness. The courtyard was still once more. The people stared, trembling. The coins now lay gently at their feet. Armin knelt, placing a hand on the warm cobblestones. He understood fully. This night was not just a gift. It was a battle between fear and courage, hunger and hope, darkness and light. Poverty had been challenged, but it was not gone forever. The people had tasted victory, and they would carry it. The child approached him again. She smiled, faint but real. Her hand brushed his, and the blue flame flickered, then vanished. The coins turned to ordinary metal, heavy but harmless. Armin looked around. The courtyard, the streets, even the fog seemed lighter now. He could hear laughter. He could smell bread baking. The night had changed. The city had changed. And for the first time in years, Armin felt unbroken. The night poverty was defeated had passed, but its lessons lingered. Courage, hope, and unity could turn even the darkest night into dawn. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, a whisper lingered. Remember this night. Hunger fears hope. Fear fears courage. Armin stood, taking the child's hand. They walked back into the streets. The city was quiet, but it was alive. And he knew the world would never look the same again. The first light of dawn crept over the rooftops. Soft and golden, it painted the city in warmth. Armin and the child walked slowly through the streets. The fog had lifted completely. Shadows no longer threatened. The air smelled of fresh earth and baked bread. People emerged from hidden corners and collapsed doorways. Their eyes, once hollow and fearful, now shone with life. Some whispered prayers of thanks. Some laughed quietly, afraid to believe in joy too quickly. Armin looked at the coins in his hands. They were ordinary now, but they carried a memory heavier than gold. The night had tested him, challenged him, and transformed him. He realized the power had not been in the coins alone. It had been in him, in the people, in the courage they found together. The child tugged at his hand. She led him to the fountain at the center of the square. Its cracks glowed faintly in the morning light. Armin knelt and touched the cool stone. He felt something shift beneath his fingers. A quiet energy hummed through the city. It was subtle but undeniable. The hunger, the fear, the shadows, they had not vanished completely. But they had been weakened. For now, hope had a voice. For now, courage could move mountains. Armin stood and faced the awakening city. He breathed deeply. Every corner, every street, every rooftop seemed to hold a promise. The people were watching, learning, ready to rise. He knew the night poverty was defeated, but the battle was ongoing. It was a battle that required persistence, unity, and the belief that even in darkness, light could return. The child smiled up at him. Her eyes sparkled with the innocence and bravery of the future. Armin squeezed her hand gently. Together, they walked into the city as the first full rays of sunlight touched the streets. Every step echoed with hope. Every breath whispered courage. The city stirred, awakening to a new day. And Armin understood fully that the night had ended not with magic, but with humanity. It had ended with people choosing to rise. It had ended with the world remembering that poverty could be challenged. And for the first time in his life, Armin felt certain that even the darkest night could give way to light. The city, the people, the streets, they were alive with possibility. And the memory of that night, when poverty had been confronted and hope had triumphed, would never fade. It had become a story whispered from heart to heart. A story of courage, resilience, and the night poverty was defeated,